Everyone shut the fuck up! Covert instruments dropped! Okay, do I have your attention? Okay, do I have your attention now? Hey, it's Snake, and today I'm going to be talking about the Covert Instruments Grav Pick. This has been in the vault for a very long time. I remember talking about this thing as long as like 7 months ago, if not longer ago than that, and just being super excited for it coming out after having seen it previewed in some of McNally's videos. And on an episode of Picking Time with Lady Locks and Lockheat, where Lockpicking Lawyer joined in, I actually got to talk to him and ask him a couple questions about this pick. So I'm just going to show you what comes in the box, give some quick first impressions, and talk about what to expect if you're going to be paying for this. I mean, Covert Instruments are literally calling this the first in their line of fidget picks. It's a fidget toy and a lockpick. And to give a comparison, this is a fidget knife. The Grav Pick goes for $65 on Covert Instruments' website right now, while this plastic fidget knife costed me $2. So I'm going to be talking about the type of difference 63 extra dollars makes. The first thing I want to talk about is the fact that the Grav Pick actually came in this really nice box. I was kind of surprised, because normally when you buy a toolkit from Covert Instruments, it comes in, you know, the packaging, like this Reaper set came in its case with all the tools just wrapped in plastic. But these tool sets usually ship in a vinyl bag. And to Covert Instruments' credit, that vinyl bag is really tough, but it's also just like a clear Ziploc thing. Basically a Ziploc bag on steroids. So the Grav Pick coming in this box is definitely a lot different. It's got this glossy Covert Instruments logo with Grav Pick on it. There's the Covert Instruments logo on the side. It gives it almost an Apple-like feel, which makes sense because this is, for all intents and purposes, a premium product. When you grab this little ribbon and pull it out, there is the Grav Pick, and it comes with the quint rake pre-staged. There's also a turning tool in the back that just stores inside the handle like that. And in this accessory bag, it comes with a few different things. First off, it comes with these 3 other tips. Now, if you're familiar with Covert Instruments tools, you are probably looking at these tips and thinking, hey, those look kind of familiar. And they are familiar indeed, because they are the exact same profiles that come in the Genesis set, down to the thickness and everything. The Grav Pick comes with a short hook in 25 thou, a medium hook in 25 thou, a quad rake in 25 thou, and a quint rake in 25 thou. Now, the way you change the profiles is, it's not a quick and easy swap like you might hope for, but that would probably be impossible, if not drive the price of this thing even higher than it already is. The way you change the tips out, which I'll demonstrate in a bit, is you use an Allen key to undo this screw right here on the sled that the pick tip slides back and forth on. You take the 2 halves of the sled apart, take the pick tip out, and then put in the pick tip you want to use. This is one of the things I talked to Lockpicking Lawyer about, was the idea of making this thing compatible with the same tips that go on the Covert Companion. So then you could have this Grav Pick staged with a comb pick, or maybe one of the jiggler keys.
Could that potentially mean it takes the what is it? The same like SSF tips that go in the Covert Companion?
No, we tried to do that just to make it easier, but it just didn't fit. We couldn't make that.
That's unfortunate.
But unfortunately, this is a new kind of proprietary system because the Covert Instruments design team couldn't figure out how to make that work. And I understand that. As far as I'm aware of, nobody has ever really done a thing like this before, fitting a lockpick into this gravity knife mechanism. But the accessory bag comes with the other 3 Genesis tips, a bunch of extra little screws, an extra sled for the tip, and finally this hex or Allen key, which is going to be one of the most important bits of this entire kit. This is what allows you to undo the screws in the sled for the pick, and it actually allows you to completely disassemble this tool if you ever find the need to. I will be disassembling it on video just to show you what's inside and what makes it work. But disclaimer, this may void a warranty of some sort. Don't do this unless you know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional idiot. This is just a look inside what we got. So I think I've spent long enough talking about what's in the box. Now let's talk about the Grav Pick itself. And the first thing I noticed when I took this out of the box is that it is heavy. It is dense. And if I take one of these Tradecraft cases, it is magnetic. The handle of the Grav Pick is made of solid steel, which just gives it this really nice tactile feel to it. Unlike this other fidget knife, which is like really rattly compared to the Grav Pick, and it is feather light. It's like an anti-gravity generator. And the way this thing works is that it deploys and retracts using a gravity knife style mechanism. There's this hinge on the back that opens and closes, and all you do is let it open. The pick drops out like that, and then you close it, and the way this half of the handle is designed, it locks the sled in place. Then you can pick your lock however you want, and all it takes to retract it is to open the handle up, and you're good to go. And the cool thing about this pick is that because the sled for the handle slides so freely back and forth, you can use a flick of the wrist and a little bit of centrifugal force to make the pick tip come out like that. And that's the basic operation of the Grav Pick. Now, I said the handle on this thing is made of solid steel, and the operation does seem quite simple and basic. You just allow the pick tip to drop out, allow it to drop back, rinse and repeat for every lock you want to pick. What Covert instruments do not tell you about this thing is that the steel in this handle is laced with pure fucking cocaine. I've had this thing in my hands for like 3 or 4 days now, and I've taken at least an hour straight out of every single one of those days just deploying and retracting and deploying and retracting the pick. It's one of those things, it's one of those things that you won't believe until you actually get one in your hands. Once you start doing stuff with this and, you know, making it pop out and then making it pop back in, you just can't stop. You can't. I have lost sleep playing with this thing. I'm pretty sure this could consider as the first truly evil lockpicking tool to exist in the market. And it's not even about the fact that you can pick locks with it. It's about the fact that you can do that over and over and over again. And that is especially important when we compare the $65 gravity fidget to the $2 gravity fidget. Opening and closing this, the plastic rubs on itself right around this point in the travel. It opens a lot wider, which is a little weird. It's up to you whether you like that or not. But the way this just generally feels to work with, I mean, I can kind of get used to it if I do that, but it's nowhere near as pleasant as the Grav Pick. even down to the sound that these two things make. Basically, the point I'm trying to prove is that the $63 price difference is not for nothing. And like I said before, the Grav Pick also comes with this turning tool in the back. It is 40 thousandths of an inch in thickness, which is fairly standard. And my one gripe about the Grav Pick, except it's not really a gripe, is that this turning tool that it comes with is probably the most basic that I've ever seen from Covert Instruments. It's basically the same thing as like a Peterson wiper insert. But the reason why that's not as big of a gripe as you might expect is because, to be fair, if they wanted to include a proper 2-in-1 turner like this one, where you could not only use it for bottom of keyway tension, but also top of keyway tension with the shorter end, and you wanted to keep the shape of the Grav Pick like so, taking this 2-in-1 turner and putting it on top of the profile of the Grav Pick, the short end for top of keyway tension, there's just no real way that that's gonna fit without cutting some sort of like channel all the way through the top, at which point this half would be split into two pieces and the operation would get all weird because they would start doing a scissor-like thing. Getting a proper 2-in-1 turner like this to fit in the Grav Pick in a way that works without interfering with this operation would be a lot more difficult, if not impossible. So the basic turner isn't too big of a deal, and the long handle of the turner is actually slightly bent right here. And what that does is it makes it friction fit inside the channel where it goes inside the Grav Pick. So it actually stays in and has no way of falling out, even if you're carrying this thing around in your bag or pocket or something like that. But I'll be honest, this thing doesn't really spend that much time in my pocket. It spends more time in my hand because I'm just constantly doing this. And when I talked to Lockpicking Lawyer about this on Picking Time, he mentioned that as well. How it was super annoying during prototyping to walk around the Covert Instruments office because everyone was just playing with their Grav Picks like this.
We're putting together just some fun stuff, some things that'll be more toys than anything else, but obviously you'll be able to pick with them. When we were playing with these things and refining the process, I mean, it was really annoying to be around the office just because everyone was just flipping these things all the time.
So, next order of business, I think I'm going to disassemble this thing and just show you what's inside, what makes it work, and then why don't we pick some locks with it? So this hinge pin is actually a 2-piece screw and nut, and the Allen key that comes with the Grav Pick fits inside. It may take a little elbow grease to get the hinge pin undone, but once it's been unscrewed, this part is the nut, and this part is the screw, and they just sit inside this little hole like that, keeping it attached to the other half of the handle and allowing it to open and close like that. This is all one solid piece of steel. It's got this black coating on it, and it's difficult to tell if it's cast or machined, but it feels machined to me if I look at some of the wear patterns on it underneath, because I've been playing with this thing so darn much. It looks like it's been milled or something like that, which is really cool. Anyway, for the sled that holds the pick inside the handle, that has a single screw right here, which you can just use this Allen key to undo. The sled comes apart and splits into two halves. This half of the sled has a hole for the screw to go in, and this half has these two little pins that go through the pick and then into these two little holes in the other half of the sled, and that just keeps a very secure hold on the pick. This is the quint rake that's coming out. I will also take out the tension tool. And finally, this inner part of the handle is two pieces that are held together by 3 screws. There's one screw back here, which I'm gonna undo first. Then we got another screw just in front of that. And finally, this screw in the very front. And there we have it. The inner portion of the handle is just these two pieces of solid steel. There is this very thin groove at the top, which is where the turner slides in. With a bend in the turner, that rubs against the inside of the groove and allows it to friction fit and stay in. And there's a very thin slot carved in here for the pick sled, and that carving also has a thin slot for the pick to actually go back and forth in, like so. So that is what makes a Grav Pick. I'm gonna put this thing back together now, quickly demonstrate how to change the profiles. It's actually pretty quick once you get used to the process. And then why don't we pick a lock with this? And there we go. My Grav Pick is now fully reassembled. So to change the profile on this thing, all you need to do is take the Allen key, undo this little screw in the sled for the pick, and then when the back half with the 2 pegs in it comes out, you are going to want to be mindful of the orientation of the 2 halves of the sled. Because if you flip these around, that can sometimes result in the pick being locked like this when you flick it out. And it can be difficult to get the handle to open up again. I have this happen to me whenever I change the profile. It's not a big deal. You just undo the 2 halves of the sled, flip them around, and it'll start working normally again. But it is something to just take note of and be mindful of. Anyway, once you have the 2 halves of the sled out, you just take the pick that you no longer want to use, and then take the new one. I'm gonna use the short hook. Slide that all the way to the back, close the handle, and then just fit the 2 halves of the sled around the profile like so. And finally, you just take that little screw, do it up, cinch it down tight, and with that, you're good to go. So that's good and all. It's a fun little fidget toy thing. It comes with 4 of the Genesis profiles. You can literally just spend hours doing nothing but flicking this out and dropping it back in. But how well does it actually pick a lock? Well, to demonstrate this, I'm going to get my vise out, and this is my Medeco M3. This thing has a wide open keyway, which actually is perfect for this tensioner that's normally for bottom of keyway tension. Because the end of the tensioner is so wide, in this wide open keyway, when I try to apply top of keyway tension with it, it kind of wedges itself in to this keyway at an angle like that. And I can pick this Medeco M3 with a short hook, no problem. In fact, it is my preferred profile for picking it. So I'm going to reset the orientations of the pins by just zipping it a few times like so. Then I will insert my tension tool and get to picking. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. 3 is binding, we got a click out of 3. That was a click out of 4, I believe. Oh no, that was 5. Got some counter rotation or other movement on 3. 5 won't go. Let's just play a guessing game and see if that's at the right rotation. I think 2 is binding now. I might have overset 4. Let's try this again. 1, 2. There we go. 4 is binding. We got that lifted. I think 5 is at the correct rotation. And we're not getting anything on 1 or 2. So there might be a key pin here that is not rotated properly. I'm not sure what's holding us up here. Let's see. Let's just drop all the pins and try again. I'm fairly convinced that 4 or 5 is doing something strange. Oh, there we go. Okay, 4 feels fine. Getting some good clicks out of 5. Let's give 2 a shot again. Oh, there goes 2. Okay, 2 is binding. Click out of 2. Okay, the interactive element is not asking questions yet. I wonder if maybe there's something going on 4. Interactive element is still not asking questions. I really don't like this 0 lift on 5, but it is what it is. Okay, there's the true gate on 5. Yep, and we're getting confirmation in the fact that 2 is binding. 2 is lifted. I believe 2 is in the true gate. I don't know what 4 is doing. That's probably why we're not making very much progress. Oh, we got a click with some movement after I just poked 4 a little bit. That's a good sign. 2 is looking okay. Let's give 1. Oh, 1 is binding. Click with some movement on 1, and now 1 is stuck. Is the interactive element asking questions? No, it is not. Okay, so 1 is stuck up in the Bible. That means wrong rotation, I think. We're almost there, though. There we go. Click with some movement on 1. But is 1 stuck again? I'm very close, I can tell. I don't know what's giving me so much trouble with this thing. Oh, click with some more movement out of 1. Either that or I just disturbed my tension tool by mistake. I do not know why this is putting up so much of a fight. 1 has now gone loose though, so I think I set it properly. Interactive element is binding, and there we go. We got that Medeco M3 open with the Grav Pick. And this is the part where I do the thing again. And then, I don't know, I step into the room that this thing was holding closed. Now, I am just going to gut this real quick because this is a high security lock, and most people in the lock sport community probably won't believe that I got this thing open using Covert Instruments tools. So I'm going to grab my pinning tray, a pair of tweezers, actually both my pairs of tweezers. I think this is the Allen key for it. No, I need to go a step down. There we go, that's it. Okay, this is the grub screw on number 5. Here is number 4. We've got number 3 right here, number 2, and finally number 1. And looks like the spring came out with that one as well. We'll just go ahead and pull these springs out. Got a standard in number 5. Oh wait, that was actually the number 4 driver pin. That's number 5, there we go. I can tell because this lock features balanced pin stacks. We got a mushroom in 3, a standard in 2, and a standard in 1. Let's turn this core back, get the key pins out now. There's that 0 lift in 5. We've got a spooled key pin in 4, a standard key pin in 3. Well, as standard as they get for a Medeco anyway. Standard in 2, standard in 1. And the final step is to grab this screwdriver and undo the screws in the back so that I can push the core out and show you all the sidebar. And there's our sidebar and our interactive elements down in the bottom. And there we go. Let's go ahead and bring those components up. And as you can see, if my webcam will focus, there we go. We've got the 5 teeth on the sidebar here to prove that it has not been messed with. There is our interactive element, and we have got our pins in all these slots. There's our spooled key pin on 4. That might have been throwing me off a little bit as I was initially picking this, and I had to reset a few times. Right, so the final order of business is going to be to get this lock reassembled. There is a sidebar spring that did not come out with the rest of it, but that's fine. I'll just go ahead and insert this back. This is a very precise and delicate process, everyone, and I've found that this is indeed the best way to reassemble this darn thing, because if I don't do it this way, my thumbs will be in pain from trying to keep it all in. There we go, sidebar's locked in. Let's get the tail piece back on. There's 1 screw in. Now I just need to get these key pins back. There we go. Okay, we got it. Now we just drop the driver pins back. Gotta make sure that mushroom goes in cap side down. Springs, that's number 5. And with that, we have a fully reassembled Medeco M3. So hopefully with that, I have proven to you that the Grav Pick is actually a perfectly capable lockpicking tool. The steel handle, which is quite heavy and it's also pretty big, it's actually not that much of an impediment to feedback, especially if you pick locks the correct way by keeping your middle finger braced against the pick shaft like this. All the feedback will transmit through the pick shaft and the turning tool, so you don't have to worry about receiving anything in the handle. As far as the overall handling of this pick goes, this is technically the first big handled pick that I've ever owned, and it feels exactly how I would have expected a big handled pick to feel like. It actually is pretty nice having something bigger to rest in your hand like this while you're doing your thing with a lock like so. And again, even though the steel is really solid and it feels really nice, when actually picking with it, the weight did not make that much of a difference at all. So, the Covert Instruments Grav Pick. Do you need it? Well, I'm gonna be honest, no. You don't need this thing. Its main selling point is not that it is a functional lockpick. It's that you can do this. The Reaper set costs $10 less than the Grav Pick, and you are guaranteed to get a lot more use out of the Reaper set because it comes with more profiles that are suitable for better single pin picking, as well as 6 tensioners that are better than this wiper blade insert that the Grav Pick comes with. So no, for $65, you do not need the Grav Pick. But do you want it? I hope so, after you've watched this video and seen me just constantly playing with this thing. I've actually annoyed a few people in voice chats on Discord with this thing as I'm playing with it. That is how difficult this thing is to put down. I never really understood the appeal of those like premium fidget toys until I got my hands on the Grav Pick, and now I totally get it. And unlike some of those other fidget toys where it's like $100 for a mechanism that is very well known, only it's made of metal, I would wager that there was actually a significant amount of R&D that went into this thing on Covert Instruments' part, because again, a premium fidget toy that is also a functional lockpick with a turning tool in storage, I have never seen that done before in my life. So when I think of it like that, I think $65 is actually a bit of a bargain. Hot take, I know, but it is what it is. I'll leave a link to purchase this thing in the description if you're interested. I was not sent this for free. I am not a member of the Covert Instruments Roundtable. I am not a Covert Instruments brand ambassador. I paid for this with my own money. All of my opinions are my own. I am just a big fan of their stuff. That's all. So yeah, that'll be about it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will talk to you all later. I'm now just gonna go play with this thing for another 2.5 hours straight.
Oh, by the way, if anyone at Covert Instruments is watching this and they have access to the design team to influence their ideas, please give us the Reaper profiles as an expansion for the Grav Pick. More specifically, I want to put the McTickler in this thing. I've been absolutely obsessed with this profile ever since I started putting my Reaper set through its paces. And I think with the fact that the Grav Pick comes with the bottom of keyway tensioner, that doesn't really do well for top of keyway tension, the McTickler would be absolutely perfect because it's a shallow enough profile that if you want to try and single pin pick with it, you can actually do that with bottom of keyway tension. Again, just a suggestion if anyone at Covert Instruments is listening.